and you.
All right, is everybody ready? We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're going to start with a moment of silent reflection for our first responders and members of the armed forces. That'll be followed by an invocation by Sheriff Eric Flowers, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by myself. Everybody would please rise.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for our time here performing your work, Lord. Please place a hedge of protection around our law enforcement and our military that are deployed overseas. And Lord, just ensure that the job that we do here today is all in your best interest and that we're watching out for the best interests of our citizens and our taxpayers. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Everybody would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before we get started, I would like to welcome our new county attorney, Ms. Jennifer Schuler. This will be her first of many commission meetings, so welcome. We'll try to keep it brief and calm for you.
I see the look.
Welcome. We're very happy to have you with us.
I'll keep it low.
All right, commissioners, additions and deletions to the agenda. I do have one. Commissioner Ehrman is going to have to leave at 10:30. So I would like to move 11B, 12E1, 12E2, and 12J1 up to after consent. So he has an opportunity to participate in those conversations.
Move to approve as amended.
Did you have something else you want to move?
No, I just thought that item 11, 8J should
8J?
be moved to the other understandings and agreements with access and construction to the beach, but
Okay. You want to move 8J to the under natural resources, so pull that.
You want to combine it?
You want to combine it with which one?
with
12E1?
the second one.
12E2?
second construction,
Okay,
E2.
okay.
If it makes any sense.
Yeah, that's fine.
Unless Commissioner Ehrman has an objection, as he wants to
Put
be
it all
here?
together?
Yes.
Yeah, just put it, yeah, it makes sense.
Okay.
He serves
So-
on the beach and shores, and I just wanted to make sure
Perfect.
it would be.
Nope, that makes perfect sense. So we'll move 8J under 12E2 and move those 4 items up to after consent. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, move to approve as amended.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we'll move on to a presentation of proclamations for recognition of Fire Prevention Week, October 6th through the 12th, 2024. And this will be presented by Commissioner Ehrman to,
Come on down,
guys.
everybody.
don't be shy.
Anywhere you guys want to be.
Commissioner Ehrman thought he might wear his dress uniform as a fitting touch, but I see we have ample uniforms of our first responders here. That's why you didn't do it, right, Joe?
I thought about wearing mine today for you, sir, but it just, you know, I got too many things going on. Chief Johnson, Chief Marini, staff, welcome. It's my honor to read this proclamation in regards to fire prevention. Fire prevention is probably the most important aspect of a fire rescue system because you know that people are going to get in accidents and injuries and have fires and all this stuff. And so whatever fire prevention can do to prevent those mishaps is well-deserved and money well spent. So let me read the proclamation and then let y'all say a few things. It's a proclamation in recognition of Fire Prevention Week, October 6th to the 12th, 2024. Whereas Indian River County Board of County Commissioners is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Indian River County. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at the greatest risk from fire. And whereas home fires killed more than 2,700 people in the United States in 2022, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 360,000 home fires. And whereas roughly 3 out of 5 fire deaths happen in homes with either no smoke alarms or with no working smoke alarms, and whereas residents should install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of their home. And whereas Indian River County first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through fire prevention and protection education. And whereas the 2024 Fire Prevention Week smoke alarms make them work for you, pay attention to fire prevention effectively serves to remind us to stay alert and use caution when cooking to reduce the risk of kitchen fires. Now, therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 6th through the 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this state. And I urge all people of Indian River County to make sure their homes have working smoke alarms to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Indian River County Fire Rescue, adopted this 24th day of September, 2024, and signed by all 5 county commissioners. Chief Marini, thank you.
Well, thank you. Good morning, County Commissioners, your County Attorney, and the County Administrator. The difference between escaping a fire and avoiding tragedy comes down to seconds. Smoke detectors are leading life-saving devices in home fire safety. Most fatal home fires occur at night while people are asleep. Smoke detectors can alert sleeping residents before they become fire victims. Detectors should be installed inside every sleeping room and outside in the hallways. You should test smoke detectors monthly by pushing the test button and change your batteries once a year. And a good reminder is when you change your clocks, change your batteries. We have partnered, I'm glad excited that we have partnered with the American Red Cross to install smoke detectors in residents of Indian River County that cannot afford them. We have also installed a bed shaker for a hearing impaired person. Never seen one of those before. That was pretty interesting, where it kind of, smoke detector picks it up, sends a signal to it looks like an old-fashioned alarm clock, and the bed vibrates and wakes up the resident. So that was pretty awesome. We were able to install one of those. As part of our public outreach program, we also go out and install smoke detectors. We get the phone call that elderly resident or resident cannot reach a smoke detector and it's chirping. We'll send an engine out or a fire inspector out and go look at it and see what the problem is, and if it's a battery, we'll change the batteries out for them. You can go to our website, request a smoke detector, and we'll come out and install it for you, free of charge for any residents in our county who needs them. Because like we said earlier, smoke detectors is the first line in defense and protecting somebody. On behalf of Director Johnson, Fire Rescue, myself, my fire prevention team, I want to thank the county commissioners, county administrator, and the county attorney for his proclamation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't move too far. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Commissioners. Next item is approval of the minutes of the July 2nd meeting.
Madam Chair, move approval.
I have a motion. I'll be happy to second that. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Information items. It is National Estuaries Week, September 21st through the 28th. We have one of the best estuaries, so be sure to go out and enjoy it. Also, I've been asked that we do have an opening on our Indian River, well, we have two openings on our Indian River County Construction Board of Adjustments and Appeals. So we are soliciting volunteers for the mechanical contractor opening as well as the engineering opening. So if anybody is interested or knows anybody that would be interested, please go to our website and fill out the committee application so we can continue to have meetings for the Construction Board of Appeals and Adjustments. All right, Commissioners, with that, we'll move on to consent agenda. 8J has been moved to 12E2. Are there any other items that would like to be pulled from the consent agenda? Anybody from the public?
Madam Chair, how about I indigo?
I?
Eight indigo.
8I, okay. Anything else? Anybody else from the public? Seeing none?
Madam Chair, move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. With that, Commissioner Fletcher, 8I, Amendment Number 1 to Tetra Tech, Inc., Work Order Number 1 for public outreach efforts on the Lagoon Management Plan to include story map development.
Madam Chair, quick approval. I am excited that we're going to have an outreach. We're going to have a program that people can see what is going on with our lagoon, where we're going, and what we're doing, a dashboard, more or less. And I was discussing it with the county administrator, and I was wondering if our GIS team will be involved with that, as it may enhance the abilities of the dashboard.
Eric and Kylie are coming forward, but I would imagine they would have to be, in terms of our GIS team manages the metadata and all the layers, shape files, and they would have to coordinate with Tetra Tech in the development of these storyboard maps projects.
Yes. Good morning, Eric Charis, Assistant Director of Natural Resources. You are correct. The county administrator is correct. The intent is to use this process as a kickoff or a jumpstart for our efforts, which our GIS department will be able to build upon what we receive from Tetra Tech. So it'll be kind of like a live document that we can add to as the projects continue. So
It'll be available for the public.
Yes.
On our
Yep.
website.
Yep. So, and we've actually even, been discussing this with the utilities department as well, and they're going to be actually adding some of their septic to sewer projects onto this as well. So it's going to be an all-encompassing, story map, if you would, to really highlight the county's projects and efforts towards improving the health of the lagoon.
And we have a timeline on that, about 6 months?
Realistically, yes. I really haven't defined the timeline too much with Tetra Tech at this point, but they're aware of it. They've done this for several other entities. They're aware of what we're looking for, and it should be fairly quick because our projects that we're slating to put into the initial story map, are already completed. So we have the metrics to put in there, and it's just really defining our process for us. So I would say realistically, within 6 months, you should see something up on the website, which we will promote at that point. So.
Great work and good use of funds. Madam Chair, move approval.
I'll be happy to second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, with that, we will move on to 11B, ratification of collective bargaining agreement between Indian River County and Teamsters Local Union Number 769, effective October 1st, 2024 through October 30th, 2027.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, as you're aware, the Teamsters collective bargaining agreement was up for a full negotiation. I want to thank Steve Myers and the members of Teamsters, representatives, our employees, our negotiating team, Mike Zito, Suzanne Boyle, and the affected department heads. We did come to agreement on a 3-year agreement that for the duration between October 21st, 2024 through September 30, 2027. Yesterday, the Teamsters did ratify that agreement, so it's be presenting it to you today. It does call for, in terms of wages, a minimum of 5% above the new minimum in the pay plan, or $1.75 per hour, or 6% replacement in the new pay grade based on time and service and current pay grade penetration, whichever is greater. The agreement does provide for wage reopeners in the second and third year. And just to summarize some of the other items that are included, there was an increase to the safety shoe allowance. There's language providing for seniority related to the selection as a selection factor when filling vacant shifts within the same classification. Language, providing for ability to request time off for the remainder of a shift when the rest period for a portion of shift is triggered. There was also a modification of overtime language when an employee is held beyond their regular shift and has requested sick leave in advance of being held over. There is instances or provisions in there for an increase in the on-call standby pay for non-work days and holidays from 2 hours to 2.5 hours a day. There was providing for an additional personal day, bringing the total personal days to 2 personal days per year. There was an increase in the vacation accrual rate for employees for 20 or more years of service from 20 days to 22 days per year, and the allowance of being able to take vacation in increments of 30 minutes. We calculated and looked at the lump sum anniversary amount for those that may be topped out, and it seemed fair and equitable to increase that from $1,300 to $1,500. We also expanded the Class A, Class B commercial driver's license incentive pay to include stormwater and parks division employees. And then lastly, it did provide for a reopener. We have a continuing discussion on shift differentials, and that's something that's going to require some more time and data. But we are pleased with the outcome of the agreement. We thank the Teamsters for their, coming in together and working together. And so with that, staff respectfully recommends the approval of the agreement and requests the Board of County Commissioners authorize the chair to sign the full agreement.
Commissioners, are there any questions or concerns?
Chairman, I'll move approval.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. With that, we will move on to 12E1, Sector 4, Hurricanes Ian and Nicole Dune Renourishment Project.
Wait, are we going to do the
Commissioner Fleischer's first?
No, he moved 8J to 12E2. They combined those two.
All right,
Welcome.
good morning, Commissioners. Kylie Yanchula, Natural Resources Director for the record. And I have with me Quentin Bergman and Dustin Van Giesen here to talk to you about the Sector 4 Beach Project.
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to take this opportunity to introduce Dustin Van Giesen. He's our Beach Environmental Specialist in the Natural Resources Department. He is coming up on 1 year here at the county and has been a tremendous help in expanding our drone program. He brings experience from American Red Cross and a couple other entities, and his background is diverse. So it's a great opportunity to expand our department and bolster a lot of our programs, especially our beach education and outreach programs, as well as our beach renourishment projects. With that, I will go ahead and get started with our presentation. So today, I believe I'm presenting on three items today before you. We have an award of bid, the agreement, our use agreements, and a construction oversight work order. So moving right ahead into the award of bid. Back in 2022, many of us know that our county was impacted by 2 hurricanes, Hurricane Nicole and Hurricane Ian. You can see here on the slideshow that Hurricane Ian caused there was 11 feet of wave height recorded offshore, as well as 19-foot wave heights recorded for Hurricane Nicole. Our post-storm engineering report showed that on average, Sector 4 retreated about 19 feet of the dune backwards. So here are some visuals to kind of give you a representation. This is Beachcomber Lane, right in the heart of our Sector 4 beach management area. Take special note of the sand located underneath that dune crossover and the vegetation behind it. Then after the storms, this is what that beach looked like. You can see a lot of that sand has moved away. The dune crossover received damage, as well as that now lawn for that person's home is now exposed. Now today, what that beach looks like is this, back in August of this year. So the dune crossover has been rebuilt by the town of Indian River Shores. As you can see, there's still significant damage. Dunes do not rebuild back quickly. It is a natural process that takes decades, if not more. Here's an example of some of the damaged structures that were inside of Sector 4. So this was a building that was quite at risk after the storm passed. Fortunately for this person, they have since rebuilt their own dune in front of their house and made the necessary repairs on those pilings. So an overview on the Sector 4 project. It's about 3 miles long. It is just south of our Sector 3 area and north of our Sector 5 area. This project was designed to place 135,000 cubic yards of beach-compatible sand and roughly 150,000 native salt-tolerant dune plants. The dune height is going to match the repaired dune height is going to match the existing dune. And we're looking to add anywhere between 9 feet to 20 feet of dune towards the water, depending on the area. So in August this year, we went to advertise for the bid. On September 4th, we had a bid opening. We received one responsive bid. That was from Dickerson Infrastructure in the amount of about $6.6 million. County staff and our consultants performed a review of this bid, and it was deemed that it was within the scope, as well as it was actually about $1 million lower than our engineers' estimated cost. Our Sector 4 funding is it's a fun one. We've got $4.3 million awarded from DEP and DEM, so you can see the breakdown there. What is new to our program is the unused portions of our Hurricane Ian and Nicole Restoration Reimbursement Grant Program. That's a mouthful. So that is another program from the DEP that there was leftover monies that were unused, and they opened that program up to local municipalities. In that fund, there's about $1.6 million, and what's interesting is that it is a first come, first serve basis. The county has, with your approval, we have applied to these funds, and we are still assessing, the DEP is still assessing our application. So with that fund kind of being an option, either way, the county share is expected anywhere between $0.6 million to $2.3 million, depending on those funds. Just to remind our public, the local funding for beach restoration is provided by a portion of the local option tourist tax. A timeline for our Sector 4 project, we anticipate starting construction November of 2024, and we expect that construction to be wrapped up in April of 2025, if not sooner. So the recommendation of staff is that the Sector 4 Hurricanes Ian and Nicole Dune Restoration Project be awarded to Dickerson Infrastructure in the amount of $6.6 million.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
This is a really big deal for us because this beach was never, it was just a natural beach. It was never engineered or anything else. You remember the problems that we went through, and this has been a great experience because the community latched onto this, especially people like Pat Breyer and David Fisher moved on with this program and got the residents behind it. We got the easement signed in record time and met our goal with that, which is absolutely tremendous, especially because of the residents not being there a good part of the year. And staff just did a wonderful job following up on this and working with this crew. And I got to thank Mike Kopar over there with the Johns Island folks. They were a very big part of making this happen. So this is This is a really good day and a really, really big deal, and I'm proud to see that we got this done for the residents of Sector 4. So with that, I'll move approval.
Second.
All right, and I just want to follow up on the thanks. I want to express thanks to Representative Brackett and Senator Grawl for their support for the DEP funding. So we appreciate the support from our delegation. With that, all right, there's a motion and a second, actually 2 seconds, I think. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to 12E2, which has been combined with 8J.
Okay, moving forward. Thank you, commissioners. Use agreements. In order to bring sand to the beach, we have to transport that sand from the pavement out to the beach. So we need east-west access. We're going to achieve that with construction access. There are 3 permitted locations for the Sector 4 project to bring sand across the dune line. The first one is Turtle Trail Beach Access, county-owned. We've used Turtle Trail in the past for Sector 3 nourishment projects. Our staff coordinates with Parks, Recreation, and Conservation Department to make sure that we can still use that. That one is moving forward. Lot 1 on Seacourt is a privately owned property. We'll discuss further. And then the third location is Beachcomber Lane. So here on the map, you can see where those are pointed out in relevance to the Sector 4 area. Beachcomber Lane is maintained by the town of Indian River Shores. We approached the town, and they've agreed to a use agreement where we can utilize this area for our construction. To access Lot 1, and it is located through Johns Island Property Owners Association. Same thing. We approached the Johns Island Property Owners Association, came to an agreement of the county and the contractors utilizing the roads there, and then finally we have an agreement with the owner of Lot 1 to utilize that vacant property. It's a large grassy area, a little bit of sea grapes, and just to mention too, these agreements are timed, they're limited, so they would start on October 15th ahead of construction start, so that if the contractor wanted to, there's some mobilization that could occur, and we'd have to be out of there by May 1st, 2025. One thing I would like to note too is that all of the sites have to be maintained and restored to the pre-construction conditions as well. And with that, staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve the 3 agreements for access and sand renourishment for the Sector 4 beach area and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the county.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions?
Madam Chair, no, I just want to say I believe we were all present on that first slide that you showed. I think we were all there, and to witness the respect and operation that they do, I think is part of the reason why you're able to achieve these accesses so easily. I think there were a lot of citizens there too, and they see how respectful the operators are, just getting the sand in and applying it and then leaving and restoring appropriately. They did an outstanding job in the past, and I'm excited that we're going to be moving forward. With that, motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so
All
much.
right. Last portion. Kim? Thank you. Last item before you is our construction administration work order. So I wanted to provide a little history of our consultant. So on August 15th of last year, the board approved an RFQ for engineering biological support services for the Sector 4 Dune Renourishment Project. That RFQ showed that Coastal Technology Corporation was selected as the Sector 4 consultant. Then moving forward in August 29, 2023, the board approved the first work order that was for conceptual design, permitting, pre-application conferences, as well as public outreach meetings. Then on October 3rd, we had our second work order, which was the final design of the project, final permitting, and as well as bidding services. Then in May 3rd and June 17th, the county received our beach renourishment permits that are required in order to move forward. So then moving forward into August 20th of this year, the board approved the third work order, which allowed us to monitor for late season sea turtle nests in preparation for the construction starting this November. And then today, the work order number 4 consists of construction administration, monitoring, as well as permit compliance. Construction administration activities performed for the Sector 4 Hurricanes Ian and Nicole Dune Restoration Project require strict adherence with numerous permit requirements. The two permits, DEP as well as Army Corps of Engineers, are a quite good read if you're looking for something to put you to sleep at night. But lots of requirements that have to be followed. So our recommendation is that this work order provides professional engineering services in support of construction administration and monitoring during the entire length of the project. So staff recommends the board authorize Coastal Tech work order in the total lump sum amount of $392,186.52 for the Sector 4 Dune Repair Construction Administration. With that, I'll take any questions.
All right, commissioners, questions, comments, concerns? No? Anybody from the public? All right.
Madam Chair, move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to 12J1. Which is award of the final scope and fee for integrated water master plan to HDR Engineering.
Madam Chair, that one's moved up?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, apologize.
I didn't hear it moved up.
Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Leesky, Director for Indian River County Utility Services. With me is Howard Richards. And we do have a short presentation that we're just going to give today, just to kind of let you know kind of where we are. We started back in February of 2024, where we had issued a request for qualifications. We received 5 qualified bids and proposals on April 2nd, and then on June 18th, we came to the board and you awarded the contract and the original, or actually the award to HDR to begin negotiations, and we've been working with them to work out the final scope and fee, which is what we are here today to talk to you about. The other one, sorry. There we go. So we've been working with HDR. We do have a couple of representatives here with HDR. We have Carly Follenkamp and David O'Connor, who we've been working with them over the last several months to work through this scope and fee. And so why are we here? As you all are aware, and I've spoken to you all about this before, one of the things that was impetus behind this was we've got a lot of things that are kind of all coming together right now. We've got a growing population. We anticipate that continuing to happen. We've got what we call a dynamic regulatory horizon, where we just have a lot of unknowns in the regulatory world about what's coming down the pipe for water and wastewater utilities, both at the state level and at the national level. Those ever-evolving regulatory requirements often have substantial financial burden on the utility. We have resource uncertainty. We did just recently get our consumptive use permit increased. However, there is still some uncertainty about where and how we continue to obtain water resources. So we're going to be evaluating that. We also do have aging infrastructure. The last time we did a master plan, the utility was still relatively young. We are aging, and our infrastructure is aging. And so we actually also have a point where aging infrastructure and new infrastructure is colliding, and we really have to be able to be mindful of all of our resources to accommodate those aging and new infrastructure issues. So some of the benefits that we will get through this integrated planning effort include kind of long-term planning. Really, we're going to be looking out 20 to 30 years, possibly longer, to see, again, where population growth is going to happen, anticipating that, where and how we're going to obtain water resources. This is really a comprehensive plan to look at, water, wastewater, and reuse water. We have requirements in our consumptive use permit to make use of our reuse water, 75% of our reuse water in a reclaimed manner. So we're going to be looking at all those issues to make sure that we are, again, using our finances in the most responsible and reliable way possible. Again, it kind of helps us with decision making. We put this out there and it will help us in evaluating those projects as they're coming down the pipe. We will be, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but the idea is to make this flexible so as things change, if population projections change, we can adjust and move on the fly and move things around depending upon current situation. Again, the program is based on rate affordability and acceptability, so we'll be working with them in conjunction with our rate, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later today, but working with our rate consultants to make sure that what we are proposing in this is affordable. Looking at various options from not just rates and fees, but if there's also other funding options available to us. Again, it's phased adaptive management, looking at, again, the ways that we can adapt this as things change. And so kind of looking at the key scope, what they had is they had kind of a 6-phase approach to this when working with HDR was to build the vision. Really, that's going to be a workshop to work with us to build kind of where we want to go with this, what are the main key points that we want to evaluate. Kind of evaluate the existing system. That's a big component of this, really doing condition assessments, evaluate where we are today, understand what our system looks like and how it is operating. Another big component is engaging community stakeholders. So a large part of this will be reaching out to community in various times throughout this effort to engage them and help them be part of the conversation. And then finally, kind of looking at a couple of things is evaluate alternative solutions. So start to look at what alternatives might be available, start to evaluate that, and then to develop those solutions. So when looking at those alternatives, what are the eventual solutions that they will have? And then finally, they implement and measure success. And so again, those are the main tasks and kind of broken out. The one task you see here, there's task 7, but the one task that was out of that kind of, that schedule there is project management. So project management oversees all of that throughout this. We're going to certainly have project management. And I'm not going to read through all these highlights, but just gives you an idea of where we are with each of those tasks. And so the main deliverables, and as I mentioned, the main deliverable for us is going to be a living master plan. My vision of this is not to have a document that sits on a shelf that is a paperback, hardback binder that sits on a shelf and you look at once every so often. This is going to be a living document, something that we will be able to utilize routinely, modified depending on certain issues that are unfolding. Again, kind of population being one, water resources being another, just kind of how things are happening within the county and what's happening. And so we have to be able to adapt to that and adjust to those changing environments. And so really the idea is that this tool is something that we will be able to utilize, year after year after year and adjust based off of the current situation. Again, some of the other things that we're looking at though and a big component of this is a physical condition assessment. So going out and evaluating our plants, our lift stations, evaluating how they look, where are they currently, and what is the condition of those currently. Pipelines as well, be looking at kind of our pipeline condition assessment. So this is a highly involved and highly complex effort. And this just gives you an idea. And I really appreciate the work that HDR did to put this presentation together. But this gives you an idea of some of the materials they will be using as far as like a live CIP. These are types of things that we'll be able to look at, modify, change inputs, and change things to adjust depending upon, again, current events. And with that, just wanted to kind of give you an idea of, the proposal that we got from HDR was 2.475, 840 million, so $2,475,000 $840, I can't even say this right, $2,475,840. We anticipate the project being around 16 months. That was within the proposal. But we also recognize that there's a lot of uncertainty with this. As we get into condition assessment, we're not even sure exactly how much they're going to have to do, and will there need to be more than what's anticipated. So they certainly put a certain dollar amount within the proposal to that. But there's some uncertainty about how much we need to do and whether or not we're going to need more or less than what they put. One of the things that we are asking is also kind of to have a management reserve, and I know this is a high dollar amount, but of 30%. And if you look at what we're thinking, this project could extend from 16 to 20 months. And so with that, that's about a 25% variation. So we've actually included about a 30% management reserve in the amount of $742,750 to give us some discretion as we embark on this project. So we ask you to kind of consider that as well. I mean, the main request today is for the 2.4 and change, but we are asking for this management reserve. And the idea is that we would seek approval and would have to go through John and the county's management staff. But rather than coming back with a bunch of change orders and things along the way, if this were to extend, and again, this is our management reserve. We're not guaranteed that we're going to use this. We got a proposal, and it's a firm proposal from HDR. However, we do anticipate there may be some variation along the way that we need to account for. And so we're asking for this management reserve to allow for that as we embark on the process. So, and that is budgeted. So we did actually budget $3.4 million for this project, $2 million the next year, and then we anticipated another 1.4 in the next fiscal year. So we did include up to 3.4 in the budget. We're anticipating that. And so this is actually the total dollar value is less than what we had originally budgeted for. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments, or concerns?
Chairman?
Yes.
Sean, I think it's a great idea to do this, to do each study, just, when you talk about the infrastructure and what we're going to face in the future and all this stuff, I think it's great. The only question I had talking with our county administrator yesterday was, and I'm probably going to ask him to explain it better than me, was the transparency of this, exactly maybe how the money's being worked, how it's being shifted and moved around with this. Sir, can you help me with that?
Yeah, yes, Chairman, Board Member Ehrman, $742,000 additional allowance on top of the 2.4 quote is a large amount of money. So I think, initially what was presented was that the director would be able to approve that. In the interest of transparency, I think it should go through a process, go through me, and I would even add another step, is I know we don't want to delay the process on the front end by coming to seek change orders, but I think in the interest of transparency, it would be wise to also require utilities after they approve a work order, with my sign off, that it comes back before the board as an informational item and keeping a running tally so you can see, so we can arguably manage and prevent scope creep.
And I'm certainly okay with that. I mean, John and I have talked about that, and I certainly agree that makes a lot of sense, that as we dip into that, if we have to, that we certainly bring that back to the commission, just to let you know that, hey, we are having to kind of dip into that management reserve.
My thought was, in this, since this is just such a big deal, I think we owe it to the public to say, this is what we found, this is what we're going to do, this is what we got to correct. Okay, next month, same thing. Hey, next month, hey, it all looks good. Let's move on to the next item. Just kind of see where this is going over the next, would you say, almost 2 years? It could be almost 2 years, 16 to 20 months.
16 to 20 months.
That's the only recommendation I have.
Yes, Commissioner.
I see in the scope of services 20 monthly progress meetings. So perhaps that could be something that a synopsis of it, if you will, could be either, I think it probably should be presented as opposed to an informational item. A brief update on this, because it is a huge project. I'm glad we're doing it. Water is our key resource, and this is long overdue, so I'm delighted that we're doing it. But again, in the interest of transparency, I think it would be good, since we already have these meetings, 20 meetings, to present publicly what is coming out of the meetings. Thank you.
By publicly, you mean at a commission meeting, maybe
I
just a brief
I would hope so,
item with
yes.
an update? Okay,
Yes.
so nothing like
Right.
crazy.
We do, and I do believe that HDR has built-in board briefings on a number of occasions throughout the project. So I think, I don't know if we want to do that monthly, but we would certainly, however, at whatever frequency you would like, we would certainly be happy to come back and provide informational items to the board on kind of the progress that's being made.
And I have no problem. I do think we should be transparent and keep the public updated, since there's so many people that want to be involved. My only concern is if that they're doing it on a monthly basis, that's one meeting a month where they're preparing an item to come before us. So I'm not trying to not be transparent. I'm just trying to be respectful of all the other things that are going on, and perhaps we can maybe not do it every month.
How about we leave it up to the discretion of the director and the county
If
administrator?
it's quarterly.
We need to.
Well, I think Commissioner wants something that's
No, I think we can leave it up to their discretion, and if Sean wants, he can make a movie, because I saw his movie last night at the North County Library, and he's quite a star.
okay. Does that work?
So start with quarterly and kind of or just at our discretion. I mean, I do know that we've built some of that in. I don't know how much we'll make in a quarter right off the bat, so I don't know that there'll be much value in a first quarter report, but maybe 6 months in, and then we can kind of go from there.
Quarterly from there. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay. And that keeps us engaged too, so if there's something going along,
Sure.
we can provide input versus getting to the end and then,
Yeah, a lot of the first quarter is going to be them doing a lot of data analysis and a lot
Right.
of like condition assessment, so there's probably not going to be a whole lot of real
Okay.
good data to provide in that first quarter, so.
Okay, so 6 months and then we'll go quarterly from there, unless there's something going on that you need to bring to us before then. Does that sound good?
Sounds good?
Okay.
I mean, Howard's got a lot of work to do, and we have to allot time for work to be done before we can present. And I know that Howard's trying to look at or assess if the Gifford Water Tower is a utility, or maybe a utility, and that might help out the resources too. So we want to allow plenty of time for that as well.
Well, and it gives us the opportunity to tell our story as we're going through this process too. So I don't think we do enough of that, and this would be a good opportunity to kind of include everybody on that journey. So all good stuff. I'm glad we're getting this done. I know it is a huge undertaking, but it's really going to put our utility where we need to be for the future, and exploring all the things we do to make ourselves sustainable. So
Yes.
good stuff. All right, any other questions, comments? Anybody from the public? No? All right, Commissioner Ehrman, this was your,
Motion to approve.
Second.
all right, I have a motion by Commissioner Ehrman with a second by Commissioner Flesher. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, that brings us back to our regularly scheduled commission meeting order.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Of course, I'm glad we were able to do that for you, Commissioner Ehrman. All right, Indian River County Sheriff Eric Flowers regarding fiscal year '24 auction proceeds.
Good
Welcome.
morning, how are you guys? I'm here today to ask you for two different items. One is our auction proceeds. We gained a total of $46,748. After subtracting unclaimed property we just sent to the state and forfeiture funds, the net amount is $42,448. We're requesting that those proceeds be used to acquire new like-kind property within the current fiscal year pursuant to Florida statutes.
Commissioners, any questions?
Madam Chair, move approval.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr with a second by Commissioner Flesher. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we'll move on to offender fees.
The next one is, again, in accordance with county ordinance, we're requesting $22,240 for the offender fees to purchase investigative surveillance equipment, duty and tactical gear, and office and field supplies, $22,240.
Commissioners, questions, comments, concerns?
Move approval.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr with a second by Commissioner Flesher. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day. Thank you.
All right, commissioners. With that, we will move on to public hearings. Our first public hearing is to revise utility services rate schedule for the Indian River County Department of Utility Services.
Wow,
Welcome
that was
back.
quick.
I know. You didn't even get a chance to leave the room.
I didn't. I barely left the room. Good morning again, Commissioner Sean Leaskey, Director of Utility Services. Here to kind of wrap things up on the rate study, hopefully. And so I do have a quick presentation, and Brian Beavers is here also to help answer any questions that might come up. But kind of going through this real quickly, and I'm going to try to go through this. You've seen much of this, so I'm not going to kind of try to bore you with too much of it again, but just kind of wanted to reiterate why we are here today. We had Stantec, we hired Stantec to do a rate study. The idea was to evaluate our utility rates to make sure that we had fair and equitable rates for our customers, to assure that we did have sufficient revenues and funding for our system as we go forward, looking at, again, future growth and demand projections, and a variety of different things that they looked at within that. And, we did try to engage the community in multiple community presentations. So why we're here today, just real quick, I believe you all received this, and I am going to read through this because I actually really appreciated the Indian River Neighborhood Association for taking the time to put together this letter of support. But if you don't mind if I read this real quick. Dear Commissioners, the Indian River Neighborhood Association strongly supports the proposed utility fee and rate modifications presented by the Indian River County Department of Utility Services. These adjustments are both necessary and long overdue to ensure the sustainability of the county's water and wastewater infrastructure, which is vital to the health of the community and the protection of natural resources, particularly the Indian River Lagoon. The comprehensive rate study conducted by Stantec Consulting Services has highlighted the critical need for these changes. Over the past 25 years, while inflation and costs associated with maintaining and improving essential water and sewer services have significantly increased, IRC DUS rates have not kept pace. The current rates are now insufficient to meet operational costs and fund the necessary capital improvements required to maintain and enhance the utility systems. The proposed rate adjustments are designed to address this gap by implementing a fair and equitable tiered structure that ensures those who use more water pay proportionately more. This approach not only promotes water conservation, but also aligns with the principle that the cost of utility services should reflect their usage. The adjustment of existing fees and the introduction of new ones will also provide critical funding for infrastructure projects that are essential to protecting and restoring the Indian River Lagoon, a cornerstone of the county's environmental and economic health. Excuse me. In addition, it is recommended that the board consider implementing a mechanism that ties future rate adjustments to inflation or other relevant economic indicators. Such a measure would prevent the need for large, abrupt increases in the future and allow for a more gradual and predictable rate environment for residents and businesses. The RNA believes that the proposed fee and rate modifications are both necessary and prudent. The increased revenue will enable the county to maintain high-quality water services, invest in crucial infrastructure upgrades, and continue efforts to improve the health of the Indian River Lagoon. Approval of these adjustments is an investment in the long-term sustainability of the community's natural resources and public health. Thank you for your consideration in an important matter. The IRNA urges the Board of County Commissioners to approve the proposed utility rate and fees changes for the benefit of the community and the environment. I really appreciate them taking the time to write that letter. It does speak to kind of the importance of this. But again, with this started back in 2003, and I'm not going to read all these dates. And we've, kind of went through a series of workshops with them. And we did have a couple of community outreach or supposed presentations. We had one at South Oslo at the IG Center in South off of Oslo Road. Unfortunately, we did not have anybody attend that workshop. We then had one last night at the Sebastian Library, and we had 100% more than we had at the IG Center. We had a whole one-person individual show up at that workshop.
Good job, North County.
We thank that resident for coming.
And so, we have tried to reach out to the community, but, this is a critical step for the utility. We are at a point now where and this is something that was mentioned in the letter from IRNA, that if you look at kind of where the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, has gone over the last about 20 years, compared to where our utility rates are, we're a little bit behind. And so what we're trying to do today is look at correcting that and putting rates where they should be. And just again, in comparison to where our rates are to several of the Treasure Coasts and other utilities in the area, again, we're the lowest currently if you look at just the 2024 rates, and these are our current rates compared to other current utility rates. And just to kind of give you an idea, again, I know this was all presented before, but at our current trajectory, if you look at our current trajectory, if we kept spending without increasing our rates, by 2027, we would be dipping into our reserves. Or not dipping into our reserves would actually be gone. We're actually currently dipping into our reserves. So if we continue along that same trajectory, we would be without reserves by the year 2027. And so what we're asking for is a slight increase, so about close to $10 for this fiscal year, actually starting on January 1st. So this fiscal year, we would not be starting the rates until January 1. But again, in October of that year, we would then be asking for another increase of about $7. So that's what we are asking today, is to approve both of those rates. So going forward, this initial one in January of 2025, and then again in October of 2025. But again, in looking at that, if you look at the proposed rates, 2025 and for fiscal year 26, we are still considered one of the lowest, if not the lowest, again, compared to those other utilities. And I think, as Andy mentioned during his presentation, likely that many of these utilities up here are also going to be seeking rate increases. So again, this is not accounting for any rate increases they may be having over those next 2 years as well. So even without their rate increases, we would still be the lowest within those we compared to. And again, what we're doing is trying to kind of, level that out and bring our rates in line so that we're not continuing to dip into our reserves. We do have a requirement that we have a certain amount of reserves in place. And so in doing these rate adjustments, it kind of gets us and brings us back in line. And if you kind of look at that line, we still dip into the reserves slightly over the next 2 fiscal years, but then we start to make progress on that. A couple of the other things that we are seeking approval on today as well is impact fees. So we did have the consultant evaluate our impact fees, and these are basically when new services come online, they are required to pay impact fees, which pay into the capacity of the system. And the evaluation looked at that we do need a raise in water impact fee. However, according to state statute, we cannot do that. We have to do that, phase that in over 4 years. And so in fiscal year, we would be raising the impact fee from $1,300 to $1,463. In fiscal year 26, again, $1,625, and then again, 27 and 28. We would never reach that calculated. So their calculated impact fee was at $2,000, but we can't reach that because there's also a limit in how much you can raise it each year. So by 28, we would be at $1,950. Their evaluation did recommend a reduction in the sewer impact fee, down from $27.96 to $26.24. And so, our plan is to implement those. And if you look at the increase this year and the decrease in the impact fees, we're about the same. For someone who's having to do both water and sewer, those impact fees end up being about the same dollar value. Please keep in mind that come 26, there will be a slight increase in the water impact fee, so that will be slightly going up. And just again, comparison, and I always think this is an interesting slide when you think about 1,000 gallons of water and what you can get. Basically, 1,000 gallons of water is about $2.80, even with the new rate increase. And so, or that's about the new rate increase. So 1,000 gallons for $2.80. What else can you get for around that price? A gallon of milk is actually more than that. One loaf of bread is right around that cost. A single slice of pizza is $3.50. We kind of joked last night that a whole pizza costs $7 or something like that, which I guess maybe if you go to Sam's Club, you can get a pizza for $7, but a lot of places it's $3.50 for a slice of pizza. A large coffee at many of the coffee shops around town, $3.75 again, and a box of cereal, $3.25. So most of those are all greater than 1,000 gallons of water. That's pretty profound when you look at what you're getting for the price.
And the water is good for you. Some of those things are not.
It may not be.
There's the value.
That's a good point. I think one of the things they joke about, and there was a slide that says, our water is cheaper than dirt when you looked at filling up a pool, a 10,000 gallon pool, that it's a lot more expensive to fill it with dirt than it is with water. We're also looking at a variety of other user rates and fees that we are requesting an increase, or in some cases, perhaps even a decrease, interestingly. But for the most part, we do have fire protection charges that we're seeking an increase on, bulk services, so water and sewer services, other utilities. That's not really used that often. Really, we only have one emergency connection with Ellesmere, so that bulk rate is really not something that we use much. But we're asking for an increase in the reclaimed water costs for golf courses. And then, kind of septic disposal and costs are going up there as well from 17 to 26. So, we have a variety of different things that are increasing. In addition to that, the customer deposits. Interestingly, right now we have a $50 water deposit and a $50 sewer deposit. In the proposal, we're recommending that we reduce the water deposit down to $40. Is that right? And then increasing the sewer deposit to $85. Again, if you're paying both, though, it will go up to $125. But if you're only paying water, it's $50 or $40, and if you're paying sewer, it's $85. And again, those are refundable to the customer after 24 months of good payment history. And then I got approximately 35 other fees, and all this is available in the report. But we all are seeking approval to increase fees that had not been adjusted in quite some time. Interestingly, a new account fee is actually being proposed to go down from $28.41 to $25. So that is one fee that is actually going down, aside from the sewer impact fee. And so with that, we are recommending approval of the utilities rates and fees, and ask the board's approval for those for the next 2 years. I'd be happy, and Brian and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Commissioners, this is a public hearing, so before we get into questions and all that, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns, Commissioners?
Madam Chair, I would just like to say that on this particular topic, I think all 5 of us have received a lot of information. We've seen this presentation at least 4 times each, and I think that proves that it's very thorough and a good sign of good government.
Agreed. All right. Commissioner Moss.
I just want to say, especially that line chart encapsulates the entire situation. That we were on a glide path, basically toward financial disaster for our utilities. So, thank you for bringing it to our attention. Didn't happen overnight. This is something that needed to be addressed over time and wasn't, and I'm glad that you brought it to our attention. I mean, maintaining and financing infrastructure is one of our key responsibilities as elected officials. So thank you for helping us to live up to our responsibility.
We all got a chance to see the movie, right?
We can, if you'd like to see the quick
Would you
movie.
like to see the movie that
Sure.
Absolutely.
John Liskey put together?
Well, Jay Shatar, our community affairs manager, put the
Yes.
video together, and he did an
We're gonna-
excellent job. So,
Complete
Thanks
with
to Jay.
costumes? I like that. I like the wardrobe
Hi,
department.
my name's John Lease. I'm the Utilities Director for Indian River County Utilities. We're a water, wastewater, solid waste, as well as reclaimed water utility. I'm here today to talk to you primarily, though, about against our water, wastewater, and reclaimed water rates. Basically fund ourselves, and you can kind of see behind me, this is one of our water treatment facilities. We have two such water treatment facilities in the county. We We also manage 3 wastewater treatment facilities as well as a large sewer system and water distribution system. And in order to maintain and operate those systems, we have to have a large amount of funding, and that funding is primarily served through our rates and fees. We are not served by the general fund whatsoever, so we do not receive taxes from the county. We're called what we call an enterprise fund. We are only provided funding through our rates and our fees.
For the past year, we've been working on our rate study. We haven't raised our rates in a while and knew we couldn't continue under our current rate structure. This table shows what would happen if we don't raise our rates and fees. We couldn't make repairs, replacements, or rehabilitate our aging infrastructure, and this would negatively affect our ability to continue providing safe and reliable services. During the study, when our rates were compared to 14 peer utilities, we found that we had the lowest rates in our region. The recommendations coming from this study suggest to keep providing safe, clean water and wastewater services, we need to increase our rates and fees. We plan to do this over 2 years, starting in January 2025 and again in October 2025. Even after the rate adjustments, we will still have the lowest rates in the region. To put this into perspective, an average volume user will experience an increase of less than $10 on their monthly bill, as it goes from about $50 to $60. It is important to understand the cost of water will still be very affordable, especially when compared to other basic needs and their costs. Check out this graphic. It shows the cost and value of water as compared to other items you might typically buy. After a public process that starts with a public workshop on the rates and fees changes, the Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing and then vote on the new rates and fees this fall. Indian River County is our home, and we at the Department of Utility Services are committed to providing the lowest cost, safe and reliable services to our communities, while also ensuring these services are there for you well into the future. We are reviewing our rates and our fees annually to ensure we are operating sustainably. To learn more about the rate study, please visit www.ircutilityrates.com. Until next time, this is Sean Leesky, Director of Indian River County Department of Utility Services, signing off.
Fantastic.
Sure.
A star is born.
Have a future if ever you decide not to be a utilities director. All right, anybody from the public wishing to speak, please come up to the podium and state your name and address. for the
Tom
record.
Sullivan, 4187 West 16th Square. I'm a big proponent of Sean. He does a great job. Actually, I thought he should have got a raise when he was doing both jobs, the bridge and tunnel, and his own job. But
Sean has his own fan club now.
Yeah.
He's already started,
Yeah,
the
well,
celebrity.
now that I got this movie. So my question, and I guess Sean might be able to answer this, was on the water and sewer impact fee. Okay, my question was, can we raise the connection fee? Because according to, unfortunately, I read this stuff, okay? Florida Statute 163.31801 authorizes local government to impose impact fees as a condition of development approval and provides guidelines for calculating and using impact fees. That study that was done, they know that that doesn't apply to water and sewer hookups. Am I correct? Well, if you could bring that up on the screen for me.
Are you talking the impact?
Yeah, the impact study. And like I said, I'm just trying to help out, Sean. I think we can get more money out of this.
You talking this?
I'm talking page 3
Oh, the report itself?
of the report itself.
Oh, I can't, I don't have that.
Oh, okay, okay. All right,
Not
so.
where I can pull it up.
No, that's all right. Okay, so, but I think you're gonna understand what I'm saying. At the end, I read that whole report, and at the end, it said, water and sewer hookups are not governed by that principle. Yeah, I know they are adjustable. My point.
I think I know what you're asking. So the impact fees cover purchase into capacity, right?
Yes.
So the existing capacity, we have water plants, we have wastewater plants, we have an infrastructure. So the impact fee is to cover their fair share of buying into that capacity.
Yes.
We do have a connection fee that we do charge as well.
That's the one.
That is basically to help cover the cost of, let's say, the delivery of that water to the home.
That's the one I'm talking
And
about.
so that is being adjusted. We are
I know
adjusting
it's
that
adjusted,
connection.
and that's the one that you even said the sewer would go down on.
Well, no, that's the impact fee.
Oh,
So
okay.
the impact fee is buying into capacity. There's also a connection
Right.
charge.
But what we talked about in your first display that you put up today about future uses, that impact fee can go towards that into an account, am I correct?
Yes.
If we were to raise that?
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. My feeling is that with the amount of development going on, I come to this point all the time, that it's well worth it for the developers to develop because our impact fees are low. I would rather see the impact fee on water and sewage only. I can't figure out fire and ambulance stuff, you know that. But if we would raise that sufficiently, I'm not saying kill them, but I think it should be raised. Because when you think about the amount of growth that is happening right now, that's going to directly affect you, right? It's not indirectly affecting you, and it's going to directly affect everybody that has a house in town.
Sure. So I understand what you're saying, and you know, when they evaluate those impact fees, they have to evaluate what someone buying into the existing system, right? And so right now we have an existing system.
Not in the
Now,
case of water and sewage.
Well, right now we do, but going forward, there is a chance, which is why you see, I think we just did a major modification to our water plant, which is probably why the impact fee for water is going up, because you have to buy into that system, right? If in the future we have to build a new water and wastewater plant, those impact fees would absolutely go up.
I have no problem with that.
So again, that's an evaluation that as we look to that, and if we had to in the future look to be building anew, and Laura actually with Stantec, Laura Turo is here, and maybe she can speak to this if I can't. But one of the things they do is as you look into the future, let's say we say, okay, about 5 years from now we need to build a new water and sewer, we would have to reevaluate those impact fees and determine if they're sufficient to cover the cost of some of that.
Well,
So,
what about the consultants that you just hired? And if we were to project into the future, they would tell us what our water needs would be with the new population. And therefore, we could charge these fees. And again, I think you're familiar, then you would be the consultant that would be familiar that this does not apply to water and sewage. And actually, I think it's on the last page, it actually.
Can you speak into the microphone?
I'm sorry. On the last page, it actually says error when you go to cite the code of your report.
If you want to come to the other podium,
Oh.
so we're not like all crowded at
I do. I
one,
want to
it
say
would
them together.
probably
You know,
help.
I want
Right.
more money
Well,
too. I just want to know where it's coming from.
Right, and we should be part of this conversation, not just, otherwise you guys can just have a sidebar,
sorry.
so.
Yeah, just to
Welcome.
speak, hi, good morning. To speak to that point, it would be, we did 2 different studies, so the buy-in and the incremental, so one that assessed the current assets and what it costs for that capacity, and then based on future expansions that have already been approved, what that would cost as the capacity. So it actually benefited the utility to use the one where we assess the current assets, and that's what came up to the lower sewer impact fee. However, in maybe a year or 2, if we were to reassess the impact fees based on the new expansions, we would be able to increment that just to apply for the new capacity.
So what I'm hearing from you is that impact fees are based on our current system, and as our system changes, we will continue to review impact fees and make adjustments up or down to them based on the system that we have, the usage, the customer base, and all that kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
And I have no problem with that. I'm just saying that by statute, the state allows for us to increase the water and sewage attachment fees. Is that correct?
The connection fee or the impact fee?
The connection fee.
Okay, that's
Is not-
totally separate than the impact fee.
That's what I'm asking Sean. So when this impact fee was done, we talk about impact, that's a much broader category. Am I correct, Sean?
well, I think you're confusing a couple things. The impact fee is a specific fee that is meant to accommodate purchasing into capacity of the system.
Uh-huh.
And so we evaluate our current capacity, we evaluate what those fees are, and someone's buying in. And as those assets depreciate, the value of that asset goes down, which is kind of why, like, the sewer rate's going down, because we've had sewer plants, they're depreciating, they're going down in value. Therefore, someone buying into it today is not necessarily having to pay what someone did yesterday. The problem is with those impact fees, you've got to look at, if in the future we needed a new plant, those impact fees would have to evaluate the cost of that new facility and someone buying into that overall capacity, which then may necessitate increasing that impact fee. There's also a connection fee, that people pay that is separate from the impact
Correct.
fee, that accommodates the cost of the buried infrastructure, the pipelines that it takes to get them that water. And that's the connection fee that they pay.
So
Madam Chair, could I just
Sure.
add some? So just understanding that with impact fees, there's a fair share principle, and it's based upon, while it does take into consideration, it's about new growth, so it takes into the capital plan that's proposed.
Yes.
As we know, we don't have a really robust capital plan for the sewer at this moment in time, so therefore you can only allocate or assign, and you can't arbitrarily raise an impact fee unless it's based upon the actual data. The footnote to which you are referring to is under demonstrated needs analysis in section 3. It's saying that if we were to raise the water and sewer connection fees, the provision for phasing that in over a 4-year period is not applicable to those specific. That's what that footnote's for. It's not saying that you can't do it or you can do it. It's just saying it's not applicable to the phasing in approach. I mean that we're required to by the statute for the impact fee.
Right, but the statute for the impact fee does not cover.
Okay.
Correct.
Let me just ask this. Are you trying, because we're like running
Okay.
around,
What
we're
I'm
running around the
trying- what
house
I'm trying-
700
What I'm trying
times.
to do, Mrs. Adams, is
Thank
I
you.
am trying to raise the fee that people pay to attach to water and sewerage.
So you want us to consider raising the connection fee?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay,
All
because under state law, even under this case, even under the law that's cited, which is 163-31801, that's allowable.
Okay.
And under statute 180.13-2, city council or other legislative body of municipality may establish just and equitable rates on charges.
Okay.
So I just wanted to.
I appreciate that, and as we move forward, we'll take that under consideration. Thank you so much.
I like living here.
I appreciate you living here too, very much. All right, anybody else from the public? All right, seeing none. Commissioners, any more questions or comments for staff?
Madam Chair, on a side note, our building permits and our inspections are down year to date from last year.
Yes. All right, if there's no other input, then I will close the public hearing. Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair, move approval.
And I'll be happy to second that, or Commissioner Laura will second that. And Sean, I've had the opportunity to visit some of the plants lately, and they are awesome. Our operators are fantastic, so I know, this kind of impacts them and their ability to grow and do. So just want to give them a shout out for doing an awesome job. We have amazing facilities. If you guys haven't been out to see them, they are very fascinating, water and wastewater.
I'd welcome you, anyone, anytime to come out and
It is a
take
fun
look.
field trip to see how it all works. But.
And I'd be, just real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't really thank Laura and Andy and the Stantec team for all their hard work on this. I mean, they really did a bang-up job, and we couldn't have done this without their services. So I just want to take a minute to thank them, too.
Thank you. All right, there is a motion by Commissioner Flesher with a second by Commissioner Lohr. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, Commissioners, are we doing good? You want to do one more before we'll take a break at 10:30 for Commissioner? Okay. With that, we'll move on to Local Provider Participation Fund approval. Welcome, Mrs. Prado. This is also a public hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner. Susan Prado, Deputy County Attorney, Indian River County. So today is our annual meeting that we have for the Local Provider Participation Fund. The Local Provider Participation Fund was approved and an ordinance was adopted back in September 2021. This is our annual assessment of the hospitals, Sebastian, Lawnwood, and Cleveland Clinic. There's still no expenditure from the county on this. We don't spend any funds on this. So at this point in time, we would ask that the board go ahead and open the public hearing, take any public comment, and vote whether to approve the Local Provider Participation Fund resolution and letter of agreement. And I'm open for any questions if you have any.
All right, at this point, I will open the public hearing. Commissioners, any questions, comments, or concerns of staff? Seeing none, if there's anybody from the public that wish to speak on this item, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? My name is Dr. Richard Rothman. I'm the Chief Executive for Cleveland Clinic and New River Hospital. Thank you guys for having me here today. So we're here in support of the resolution. For those of you that are not aware, uncompensated care in Indian River County continues to be a top priority for health systems as we look to balance the care that we deliver. As a microcosm of that, Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital in 2023 delivered over $20 million in unfunded care. And that's exclusive of a $9.8 million gap from our Medicaid payment. For the public and as it behooves the commission, we continue to see a decrement of about 40% of our payment, meaning that for the care that we deliver, Medicaid funds about 60% of that. And this payment helps us reconcile some of that difference. And so to that effect, we're here to speak on behalf of the Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital and other healthcare providers in the community in support of the rate resolution. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? No? All right, thank you. Anybody else? Welcome.
Hello, Colleen Ernst with Adelanto Healthcare Ventures. We're a consulting company that works with the hospitals across the state on this program. I've been here a few times before. It's always good to be back. Just want to say thank you, especially compliments to your staff for all of the hard work to implement this program, to keep it going every year. This program continues to grow. We now have 26 jurisdictions in Florida participating in similar assessments of their hospitals to support closing the Medicaid reimbursement gap. So it's a growing program, it's a successful program. Every jurisdiction that has started doing this has continued, and as I said, additional jurisdictions are coming online. So it's a wonderful initiative. We're very grateful for what you do and for your staff's time in this initiative.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
I'd like to also return to Colleen. If you could recall the first time that we've climbed this ladder,
yes,
it was a very lengthy climb. I think today is not, and I want to thank you for facilitating and explaining it and working with our county attorney.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Anybody else?
Madam Chair, move approval.
All right, let me close the public
You gotta
hearing.
You can do that.
All right, now.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Commissioner Lohr with a second by Commissioner Flesher. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, Commissioners, Mr. Rigby was unable to make it today, so he will reschedule for the public discussion items. And with that, we will take a 5-minute recess. Call the meeting back to order, and we will move on to County Administrators Matters. 11A, approval of proposed 2025 Indian River County Centennial Celebration. Welcome, welcome. Do we have a Centennial happy birthday song for the county? I feel like
You don't want me
we should
singing.
practice that.
That's not something I do. I can sing, but nobody wants to hear it. I was kind of surprised about that. I have a presentation.
Fantastic.
I would like to start off by thanking you for allowing me to present today. And I see some of my Pioneer people in the audience, so I'm excited to see that as well. So Indian River County is starting to gather information, coordinate, so we can have our 100-year celebration starting in January of 2025. So in 1925, took several months, but the county, the Vero residents wanted to go ahead and create their own county. There were some issues they were having with St. Lucie County, so instead of them being able to work them out, they went ahead and they had to go up to Tallahassee and petition to have the county established. Basically, there were some funding questions and so forth, but the final straw was St. Lucie County had blue laws, which meant that one of them on a Sunday, one Sunday you could not watch movies at the movie theater. And so the sheriff came up and decided to arrest people. And so they said, that's it, we're done with this. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start our own county. So like I said, through several times, they went up to Tallahassee and they were able to get Governor Martin to approve Indian River County. So in May of 1925, it was signed by Governor Martin with a 30-day stipulation before it came into law. So our actual 100-year anniversary is going to be on June 29th of 2025. The one thing that I think is kind of comical is that when Indian River County became its own county, they wanted so badly to get away from St. Lucie County, but they stole their seal. And I say stole in a comical way, not like, they're hardened criminals. But that is why we have the elk head, because it was for the Elks Lodge. That was something that the Elks Lodge was very prominent in the St. Lucie County, and so that is how come we have that seal today. And then a lot of people say, oh, what about the oranges? Originally, that was grapefruit. So we're just gonna go with what everybody wants to call it today. It's citrus. And you can see on the smaller white part of it, that is the meeting notes part of it from the original Indian River County minutes, Board of County Commissioners from the first meeting. So we have a lot of events planned so far. This is not an extensive list, but this is a list that has pretty much given you an idea of what we're going to do. Every month is going to include something. April has been designated as Earth Month, so there will be several things within the county. We're trying to work with the Parks and Recreation Department to do those things. We have lectures, we have seminars, we have movies. We have a Heritage Center event with the USO event. So they're working with the Veterans Council to kind of duplicate a dance and dress up in costume of World War II. So there's a lot of different events. We have several things that will be happening in Gifford, a lecture series and civil rights and so forth. And then we also have a Pioneer Dinner ceremony. And this is actually going to be hors d'oeuvres served. And I have donors that are helping out with the beverages, no alcohol. But this will be to honor the people whose families started this great county. And then we'll have a history fair and a parade, a nighttime parade, so that should be fun. And then we will have a time capsule ceremony, but that will take place the day after the Centennial 100-year. During this time frame, we're also going to have walking tours for downtown Sebastian. We have Fellsmere walking tours, Gifford walking tours, downtown Vero Beach. We're going to have a pub crawl. One of my, I don't want to call them my favorite because that sounds terrible, but Indian River Distillery is going to make us a Centennial whiskey, so I'm looking forward to what that's going to taste like. That will be capped at 100 bottles, so when that comes out, people are going to want to get their bottle then. But the pub crawl will be taking place over a month, because I don't want people driving to, a certain number of bars and weekends and getting plastered. I don't believe in that. So that will take place over a month. We will have a citrus squeeze where people will go and they will take pictures along the citrus trail. Marker mania, historical markers, again, going along where the historical markers are. All of these things, people will be taking selfies with these locations. They'll come back or they'll send us the pictures, and then we'll give them a raffle ticket, and that ticket will go into a pot, and then they will be eligible to win a prize. And I've got several great things right now that are for prizes, so that will be a lot of fun. This is a sponsorship level, and currently I have confirmed $12,000 in sponsorships, and we haven't even started, so I think that's pretty good to go with that. I do have a Ray of Sunshine, which is more for individual sponsorships, and that is kind of basically pick your own. So say you have a mom and pop business, there's only one or two of you, but you want to have a yard sign or a garden flag. This is the way you can purchase it and still be part of it. You can also purchase it individually if you don't want to be a sponsor. And that is my presentation. There's one of the yard signs there. It would have the county logo, the Centennial logo, I apologize, and it would have the sponsor's name on it. And that would be something that they could put in their yard. And we have a wonderful website that we have worked very diligently on. I have to give Scott Johnson and Tracy Galentine all the credit for putting that website together. They've done a phenomenal job, and they basically, I send them stuff and they just put it where I need it, and I look at it and give the okay to go ahead and post it. And that website is indianriver.gov/100. I'm open for questions.
Fantastic.
Well, Madam Chair, I just want to say that I know we all had the opportunity to have the presentation and discussion, and I want to say that you have done a remarkable job.
Thank you.
In the short time that you've gotten together, and you've taken information. I know that you've already reached out to some of those contacts as well to enhance it. I also would like to, we're very proud that we are the first, conservation project designation by Teddy Roosevelt in the United States.
Yes,
and
felt
very
honored.
much part of Indian River. And I want to see if we can get Teddy to come and talk a little bit about it because it's very important. You pointed out the icons. Yes, we kind of borrowed the elk, and as you know, it was endangered, even though no elk ever existed in Indian River County. A few years back, there was some folks that wanted to take away the elk and change that. We've done enough with the citrus that I think I want to admire the logo, the design, and going forward. As we were talking, you gave a list of merchandising, and of course, there'll be more sponsorships. But I believe that, we get one opportunity, and having seen other municipalities and jurisdictions that have done their 100th, it is a large undertaking. And I want to say thank you for your conservative approach in your merchandising and selection process. I don't know how you're doing it all, okay?
I don't either, but I'm enjoying it.
But we appreciate it. But as I discussed, your numbers were extremely low. And I see what the budget is. I would like to see it increased by about $20,000 to, again, that's availability for use. It's not directly infused, and it's not spent, and I want everyone to know that. This is the draw, but I would like to see an additional $20,000 designated. I saw some of the items in which you were choosing, and again, I'll say it again, it was fairly conservative. We get one shot at this. None of us are going to be around for the 200th, I believe. I don't know. But it's safe to say that we got to do it right, and you're putting a lot of work into it. So that's my comment. I would like to see that increase, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay. Other commissioners' comments? Do we have the ability to increase that, Mike?
Motion.
Find the money if that's what you want.
Okay.
Madam Chair, it may
Yes.
be a little premature to raise it at this time. I'm sure Michelle can come back before us if needed. We know that some of the sponsorship dollars are going to offset our initial investment, so hopefully this can wind up being a net zero.
You know, I agree with that, but this is an earmark. It's not writing the check. It's giving it the opportunity. Again, Michelle's approach has been extremely conservative. I'll say it for the third time. And her knowing that she might be able to expand the opportunity to make this even a greater success, I just would like to see that done. Of course, we could always do an amendment. I don't know if she's going to get into the thick of it now, and as we progress, I think I'd like to set it on the right tracks from the very beginning, as opposed to having to make an amendment.
What would you propose the extra dollars be used for?
Well, again, looking at some of the endeavors, I don't know, did you have that list up?
I have the list of.
The merchandising, and it was conservative.
Yes.
I believe that the local municipality who had just endeavored through and is still wrapping that up ran into some close calls. And in the very beginning, it happened. I see Fred Jones is at the podium. Maybe he wants to share some of the trials and tribulations in having the recent Sebastian celebration.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think one of the things, I don't know what the budget is right now, but I can tell you if you're talking about doing a fireworks display, right now, for a decent one, that's going to cost you upwards of $30,000.
Right.
If you're talking about getting Teddy Roosevelt impersonator, that's going to cost you quite a bit of money because this guy is really good. We have him, but it costs a lot of money to get him there. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know what the budget is, but if you can increase it so that you guys can have a great celebration, that would be wonderful. So, because it's going to cost. It's not easy. The merchandise is only going to raise so much money, but you've got to put some other money in there to pay for these other things that you're going to need.
And once again, you've had some close calls with having to finance. Yes, there will be money generated, but by the same token, I think if we do it now, we do it right, and get the job done.
Yeah, I think if you guys can put money in there, more money in there, it's going to be better for the county, for your team that's actually doing this, setting this up and actually running it. It's going to really be a great help to them if you could add some more money to it. I don't know how you do it, but I think it'll be a great idea to do that because they're going to need every single dollar that they can get because the merchandising, you can only count on that so far. So you've got to have other funds that's put in there.
And in addition, it doesn't have to be used, but it could be used. I just believe the timing is now as opposed to halfway up the road. We have to remind ourselves, this is for the citizens. We have just short of 170,000 citizens in Indian River County. But more importantly is that this is a tourist draw. People are going to come for this event. And they are going to spend money in our community, and they are going to attend. It happens in Sebastian, and people want to be participating in an event, a momentous occasion. So I believe there's more of a draw than meets the eye.
Right, and then also the upfront cost for all your merchandise, you're all going to have to do that, and whether or not you can make that back and make a profit above what you spent on the merchandise itself. So this is why I'm saying the more money that you can put in there, the better off it's going to be so that you can have a great event for your 100th-year celebration, so.
Thank you. I don't necessarily have a problem with spending a little bit more money. I just would prefer that if that's something that we were gonna do, it was clearly delineated what that was going towards versus just extra swag. Because I feel like if it's going towards an event of some sort or some kind of hoopla, that to me is a better expenditure of the money than on bags and vinyl clings and whatever.
I have not reached out to Teddy Roosevelt 2.0 to find out how much it would cost for him to come
Right.
here. The other thing is the parade was going to have a laser show. And so that gentleman is working with me, but he did not give me a quote yet. And so if fireworks were roughly 30,000, that's my whole parade fund that I had for that.
And so if there's extra money needed for something like that, I would be more willing to add it in now versus I just don't think we need to spend $20,000 extra on swag.
No, and that was not my intent, but also, and Teddy was a recommendation. It might be outclassed, and I'd rather see it with a laser show and fireworks and celebration and things that are going to bring our community together. I think that's very important, and some of the great events that you have lined, there's also cost factors there. I know that some of our tourism partners have developed some plans with the EDC money as well, looking to make sure that they have everything in a row for the celebration. So it is quite the undertaking. Yet.
Yes, sir. Michael Zito, Deputy County Administrator. Good morning. We could certainly, it's September, we can certainly return to the board in early November with a more refined budget request, if that's the commission's preference. And
I think that would probably make most, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you that we can put a little bit more in there. I just think we need to kind of mark out what it's for so everybody's on the same page.
Yes.
And if we have time, then that would be fantastic.
I mean, that would be great too. I mean, that's plenty of time, November. Just wanted to get it out there.
Thank you, sir.
So maybe just rework the budget with a little bit more in events and some fun, cool stuff, and maybe have I'm not saying go crazy, but have an aspirational budget and a midline budget and you know what I mean?
Yes.
Then we can kind of, I do agree, we're only gonna do this once. We are definitely, I mean, I like to think I'm gonna live forever, but I'm not gonna be here for 200.
You're the youngest member on the board.
And I can guarantee you I will not be here at 200 unless something happens in the medical world that I'm unaware of. But be that as it may, you know, we only do 100 once, so we should celebrate it.
So if I may, let me just say, when this came onto our radar, we had just had a new county administrator appointed. He immediately embraced it with great enthusiasm and had a meeting with me. And you know, my comment to him was, John, if you want something done right, give it to a librarian. And so this is Michelle Wagner, by the way. We haven't introduced her. She's taken it upon herself a leadership role in this endeavor, and she is doing a tremendous job. We're great. It's above and beyond her calling. As most of you know, she is our genealogy librarian, and that division of the library system, which is thriving, is special. And I just want to thank you for everything.
Thank you. And I can already say this is shaping up to be much more of a to-do than the City of Fellsmere's 100th anniversary, which was cupcakes and a laser show. So there you go. We're on a good track. All right, thank you. They were delicious cupcakes. I mean, you can't really go wrong with cupcakes. Weave that into the budget somewhere and we'll be good to go. All right, thank you so much, Michelle. We appreciate everything that you're doing on this. All right, did we need a motion on that? Do you want a motion to approve the tentative budget and then you can come back with?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll move to approve. Oh, okay, the 160,000.
Yes, the one that's presented, and then we'll bring something back in November that's a little bit expanded. Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Flesher with a second by Commissioner Moss. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we will move on to 11C, revision to AM 503.1, holiday schedule, personal day.
Yes, members of the board, Madam Chair. With the negotiations for Teamsters, one of the items that came up and that was negotiated down was to have 2 personal days as part of their collective bargaining agreement. We believe it's fair that that same should apply to our non-union employees each year. The estimated cost for that is $139,439, and that would give a total of holidays observed under the policy would be 12 versus the, 13 versus the 12.
Okay. Commissioners, questions?
Madam Chair, know that this may have been, Genesis may have been the Teamsters, but in keeping up with our established policies and procedures, it benefits every employee of the agency. So it's a good move.
Fantastic. All right, personal days are always much needed, especially when you have a lot going on like we do in Indian River County. So I encourage everybody to utilize them.
Centennial Parade.
And go to the Centennial Parade or eat cupcakes or whatnot. All right, any other comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none?
No, it's so moved.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion by Commissioner Flesher. I'll be happy to second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we will move on to revised policy AM 608.1, use of conference and meeting rooms and administration buildings A and B and commission chambers.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, please recall, it's probably been some time, but there was a request to update the policy for the use of the conference and meeting rooms. We've done that, 608.1, and we've carved out the commission chambers, specifically really cited them versus just making them part of the meeting rooms. So what we are recommending is that requests for meeting rooms by entities external to the county that would be outside be obtained for the, excuse me, I stand corrected, requests for the chambers for outside entities, governmental entities, would be required to be approved by the county commission, whereas requests for the meeting rooms in A and B, building A and B, could be approved by the county administrator to reduce the number of requests that would come before the board. And with that, we have a set of comments or with the policy as it relates to specific items, like, for example, the audio-visual equipment, that they would require the assistance and, and make that advance request to our county's IT department. I believe this is reflective of the direction that the board provided last year or earlier this year. So just bringing it back for your consideration. And we did carve out, because I know that was a concern, how the 4-H leadership competition is something in which the county commissioners participate in those proceedings. So therefore, that's covered.
All right, commissioners, questions, comments,
Madam Chair,
concerns?
one thing, I would be careful in any formulation of any policy or procedure, including a specific entity, which is included here. I spoke to the administrator about it yesterday, and I can live with it. The second condition is it should be outlined of the fees of our employees in the IT department, that whatever entity uses it, if it's after hours, then we need ample reimbursement.
Okay, so do you want that included in here or as an attachment?
Oh, it's a policy, I would think so.
Yeah. And then if we include the fees in there for the other meeting rooms, not the chamber,
Correct.
then we would need to include something that says it would be reviewed annually as those fees increase, because you don't want to lock in as stuff goes up. So is that something that can be added in? Do we have a cost on that?
We don't have a cost, but we normally charge them the cost. You know, like with the school district, they did not use, on canvassing day, they did not use our IT folks, so Chambers was available, they had their own person, and they consulted with ours, but generally speaking, they used theirs, so we did not charge them anything.
Do you want it to say something as simple as reimbursement for any costs incurred by the county to provide the room available or something like that?
Right, I think so. And that being said, the policy's over 10 years old, and I think we have to live with the policy that we establish.
Okay.
So number 5 would be reimbursement for any costs incurred by the county related to the rental of the use of the space.
Well, I'll ask the attorney how she would suggest that we word that, and if you don't have something off the top of your head, maybe we can just give direction to have something that is acceptable to the attorney inserted in there that kind of covers the gist of what we're trying to say.
Are you trying to do IT, just IT, or all staff costs?
Whichever, you might as well include it all since it's a living policy.
Any all personnel costs?
There you go.
And technology. Okay. All right, is there any other feedback on the policy? Commissioner Fletcher, anything, or was that all for you, Commissioner Flohr?
No, and I appreciate that, because we do the same thing with the fairgrounds, if we have to have somebody in the base of operation, and also include that as well.
To Commissioner Laura's point, do you want us to make item number 2 generic? You know, whereby any event in which the Board of County Commissioners participates, make it kind of generic, and that would incorporate 4-H and then not call out specifically 4-H?
They would seek your approval either way, correct?
If it's for the meeting rooms, yes, but for the chambers, it's the board.
Yeah, I would just be careful identifying a specific entity. We support 4-H, but remember this policy will be in existence for decades, perhaps.
Would you prefer it not to say 4-H and then they can just come to us, or?
Yes.
Okay.
So then, that means that would predicate a approval at the board each and every time.
Well, that's
we
what
have
I'm
that
trying.
Annual event.
It's annual, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to, is that the way you guys want to handle it?
I think it's fair to other agencies, other entities as well.
Anything else, Commissioner Fletcher? Anything, Commissioner Moss?
Fine with me as proposed.
Okay. All right. Do we got all those changes? We're good? So then we would basically need a motion to approve the policy as amended with direction to the attorney to insert.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Lohr with a second by Commissioner Fletcher. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's see where we are here. Next is Planning and Development Services, 12H1, Urban Service Boundary Study Workshop Announcements. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Ryan Sweeney, Assistant Planning and Development Services Director. Hopefully my shortest item I ever present to you all.
Don't jinx it, Ryan.
The final findings and recommendations will be presented at a special call Board of County Commissioners meeting on Wednesday, October 30, starting at 2 p.m. All of the project's materials are available currently on the project's dedicated website, which is www.inspire-engagement.com/Indian-River-USB. But if you just Google Indian River USB study, it comes right up.
Okay, that would be the easier way for the community
Yeah,
because
just
I
Google
can't
Indian
even
River
think I
USB.
can type that in. Google Indian River USB
Study
in every
and-
study and everything will come up.
Correct.
So special call meeting to discuss October 30th, 2024 at 2 p.m.
Correct.
in Commission Chambers.
Yes.
All right, is that good with everybody?
Well,
I think you had something, but it was earlier and 2 o'clock
That was my understanding.
was our understanding could accommodate your unless we are,
Right, I have a speaking engagement, but I also have canvassing board until right around that time, so we'll be good.
we'll be good?
We'll be good.
Okay. All right, awesome, thank you, we look forward to it. All right, let's see, now, county attorney's matters. You know, I have to say, you, for your first meeting, kind of loaded yourself up, but it's all good stuff, so let's do it.
Because Susan's doing the heavy lifting.
There you go, perfect. All right, first item is purchase of property for fire station number 15.
Good morning again, Commissioner Susan Prado, Deputy County Attorney. Yes, so the county staff has been in negotiations for purchase of Fire Station 15. I believe it's the temporary fire station that's located off of that North County.
Yep, behind the pool, or in the pool parking lot, actually.
Yes,
it's not even behind the pool.
parking lot.
It's the trailer adjacent to the pool.
So county staff has located a parcel that they wish to desire so they can actually build a final fire station or a permanent fire station and relocate the temporary. So that's what this particular item is about. The particular parcel is about 10.5 acres. It's zoned RS3 residential up to 3 units per acre. It is located on the west side of County Road 510. If you look at the attachment there too, there's kind of a photograph there on page 2 of the agenda item. There's a rather large lake/retention area to the right. And to the west is the particular parcel that we're looking at purchasing. It is across the street from a couple of individual residential parcels in the Vero Lake Estates area, and it's just south of the Sebastian River High School. You can see it says Hammerhead Way just above there on the picture in the memo. So this particular parcel is the one we were interested in. It is the purchase and sale agreement that's attached here too, is for the amount of $1.35 million. At this point in time, staff is seeking to purchase this. We have let staff know that I think there is one thing just to bring to the board's attention is that there is a request to have particular language in there just limiting any future uses to just governmental uses. They're requesting to have that put on the deed. So at this point in time, staff is seeking the position of the board on whether they'd like to enter into the purchase and sale agreement for the proposed fire station number 15 site. If you do choose to approve the purchase and sale agreement, please also authorize the chairman to execute same.
Fantastic. All right, commissioners, questions, comments, and concerns, or concerns?
No concerns. I'm excited. It's been 10 years since we moved Fire Station 15, and now we can look forward to a permanent home, concept to concrete. I know that the chief is anxious, and I want to thank the attorney for the negotiations, and motion to approve.
Fantastic.
I had just one question. How are you defining governmental uses, since we're limiting, are limited to that?
It's not necessarily defined, and I can tell you because they were wanting to limit it just to the fire station, but because, and I think maybe John can answer some of this a little better, I think the area is bigger than what's required for the fire station, but I'm not sure what their intended future uses are, but I believe John can answer that question.
We did not want to limit it just to the fire station because we do have other plans. There's an opportunity to create a North County, public works compound where we can store material to limit the time that it would take to bring material for the roads. By dump trucks, maybe it can be a little bit more, and as well as park the grader somewhere that's protected versus in the right of way that exists right now. So, but we were adamant that we were not going to, and plus it's broad, the fact that they just said governmental uses.
I would assume governmental uses would cover anything that is a use owned by a government. That's how I would define it broadly.
That could be something, for example, for the public benefit, a park or something like that?
No.
It could be, yes.
I mean,
I would think so. I mean, the term is, the idea was to leave it pretty broad, so any future uses, because I think the idea was they were wanting to restrict us from selling it to other people, or like we do
Right.
sometimes,
Right.
keeping the portion and selling off the remainder. So this way, at least, this is what they would agree to, was the governmental uses language, and it's the broadest kind of brushstroke I think we can kind of provide, so we do not box ourselves into a corner of a specific use per se.
And Commissioner Moss, what I think staff, at least in the conversations I've had with them, is this is 10 point some odd acres, and we need basically 3 acres for a fire station. That leaves 7 acres that the intention is to, or at least conceptually at this point, utilize that for another type of facility. Public Works facility has come up. What happens now in the North County, and particularly in the Vera Lake Estates area, and I get a lot of phone calls about this, is when they are amassing material for the roads, or they are cleaning out drainage areas and that type of stuff, they are dumping and storing that in the right-of-way, which is county-owned property, but it's next to people's homes. And, you know, we've had some issues in the past where the neighbors are upset because they're drying out. We had an issue where the material had to sit for an exponentially longer time than intended because there were gopher tortoises in it, because there's a lot of gopher tortoises. So that raises other issues. And I think a lot of our equipment is stored at the North County Park, which is not ideal. This would allow us to have kind of a North County annex of sorts, whether it's specifically for Public Works or utilities or anything like that, a staging area. We don't have anything up there. It's similar to the North County offices that we have for some of our constitutionals. This would provide that for kind of our infrastructure departments. And I think, you know, that is a good location. It's kind of midway between everything. I don't see this as being left or turned into a park at some point. I think there's other areas in that vicinity that might do that. But you also have to consider 510 is going to be widened. Actually, I think that portion is the first phase. And then that pond is being used as a stormwater pond for part of that as well.
And if I may, because it's zoned RS3, if any other uses, obviously, other than the fire station, because I believe the fire station's an administrative use, it would need to be rezoned for whatever it would be. So the board would inevitably see it again, because it would have to go through a P&Z for a rezoning and then back up to all. So it wouldn't be like it was something that would completely disappear into an abyss as far as what happens to it.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rohr.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. The administrator touched on what I was going to talk about the storage, but as important, less than 2 miles away with the CDD at Liberty Park, which requires another fire station, which is a good example. Some may say they're too close to each other, but I would disagree with that, in that we would have 2 in that North County area, considering the annexation and some growth that we anticipate. So I don't think we can have too many, particularly the way the movement's happening in North County. So motion approved.
All right, we have a motion we have a motion by Commissioner Fletcher, a second by Commissioner Lohr. Any further discussion? Anybody from the public? Chief, do you want to? You don't have to, but you're welcome to. You're here.
It's a red letter day, so.
I know. I mean,
Yeah, I just want to thank the commission for purchasing this. We've been waiting a long time to find a piece of property, and to finally be able to act on it is a great day for us. I thank our county administrator for pushing us for this, and I don't see him, our real estate adjuster who found this property for us, Ken Krasnow. He helped us a lot for this, and he's helping us for future land development for our stations also. So thank you again for this great opportunity to move forward to North County support and coverage. So,
and we do already have money for construction.
Yes.
It's already funded. We've just,
yes, ma'am,
for the residents, been waiting on finding the property. So
right,
now we can.
And we have a station plan. We're going to use the same one as Station 7. So we're just, will be no delay for that.
Wonderful. I am very happy about that. All right.
Looking forward to the ozone company.
There you go. All right, motion and a second, no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I think you're up again on the new lease agreement with Roseland Women's Club for the Roseland Community Center. This also has been a long time coming.
Yes, it has, Commissioners. Thank you. So this particular lease agreement is a new lease agreement, and it's almost a renewal of an old lease agreement from, it looks like, 1984 for the Roseland Community Center, which is located in Roseland Community Park off 12925 83rd Avenue in Sebastian, Florida. The Roseland Women's Club has used this community center historically, kind of upkept it, and also let it out to people for small gatherings, baby showers and such. Staff has entered into or come to an agreement with the Roseland's Women's Center for the rental of this particular center. There's no funding required for this item. Staff requests to know the desire of the board to choose to enter into the new lease agreement, and if so, we ask that the board be authorized to execute the new lease agreement. For the benefit of the board, there is a copy of the original 1984 easement attached here too, along with the proposed updated new lease agreement that will last for, it's a 10-year lease with an option for 2 5-year renewals, so a 20-year total time period.
Fantastic. And commissioners, just in the effort for a little history and background, the Roseland Women's Club actually gave the Roseland Community Center to the county many years ago, I think back in the 50s or 60s. And they have acted as the custodians of the building over time. That lease, and they kind of maintained it, scheduled it, and done that with it. Over time, that lease has now expired, and I think with the renovations that happen, we just want to kind of get it back in some kind of legal agreement, so we're all marching forward with the same understanding. So this is not something that wasn't done in the past, and I just want to give the history for the newer commissioners. So with that, are there any questions?
No. Move to approve.
I'll be happy to second that. Ms. Greenberg, I know you're here. Did you want to say anything as the representative of the Roseland Women's Club?
I'll just say thank you to the staff. Women can be a little bit demanding, and we feel like that we are off on a very good foot with the county and good rapport. I can't say enough for the staff that have really facilities, attorneys, working through all of the little issues that we came together and with a vision that says this building needs to last another 100 years. And how are we going to work together to make that happen? And so I'm just very pleased and appreciate the work of commissioners also being very visionary in the whole process. So thank you from all of the ladies and the men, because we do have our men's auxiliary. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, there is a motion by Commissioner Moss with a second by myself. Is there any further discussion? Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
Thank you, Commissioner.
for bringing that forward and getting that done. And thank you to the ladies for all their hard work in Roseland. All right, with that, we're going to move on to Commissioners' Matters. Commissioner Flesher, you are up on the Gifford Neighborhood Plan.
Good morning.
Still morning.
Yes. Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I did place this item on the agenda for a variety of reasons. Gifford Neighborhood Plan, as I look about in the audience, again, none of us were here as the Gifford Neighborhood Plan was initiated. As I look in the audience, there are 2 that were here, 3 that were here during the original Gifford Neighborhood Plan. It was over 25 years ago. They were a lot younger then, and their expectations were met for many years over that Gifford neighborhood plan. And in and around 2007, I guess we started entering into an economic downturn, and some projects came to a halt, or they were thwarted a bit. I believe, if I recall, we had to downsize the workforce in Indian River County by, county administrator had reduced the workforce by about 262 people, positions. That's frontline, and those that were getting the work done. So a lot of the parts of the project were somewhat subdued. And as we carried on, again, some continual work was done, but they were some of the items that are ongoing, continual support, but some of the projects had just gone by the wayside. In 2014, again, not all of us were here. I believe I was the only one that was here other than the constituents. The Gifford Neighborhood Plan was revisited. That was the Gifford Neighborhood Plan of 2014. Many things were determined, and it was looked at. It was looked at about the report card and what had been done in the past, and the shortcomings due to the economic downturn and the recovery. I believe that we got on track after many meetings, which we had meetings in Gifford. We participated with many of the factions in the community, specifically the Gifford Progressive League took a tremendous lead. I'm looking at those individuals now, and I want to thank them for putting it in the forefront. We agreed, again, the Gifford Neighborhood Plan is not just a plan, it's a commitment. We labeled it as a commitment, a to-do oriented movement, moving forward and correcting some of the infrastructure items and the day-to-day operational items that, quite frankly, were not taking place. And we also specified we would have an annual report card, which we had done many times. And we got quite a bit accomplished with the Gifford Neighborhood Plan, but there was more work to be done. We ran into some issues in getting some of the heavy lifting done. Those were items that required a large amount of funding and a large amount of staff time. A large amount of staff time was put into it, and a lot of community time was put into it, and members of the community as well. Just want to look at, I provided the 2014 plan and more or less the checklist with the backup. And if I just reviewed, and I actually walked through the community and looking at the different adjustments, addresses, and spoke with some of the constituents, and spent some time after just a meeting just a few weeks ago that we identified, hey, we have work to be done. Well, we in fact do have work to be done, but a lot of stuff was done. I'd just like to point out, and again, because we have a new county administrator, I remind us we have quite a bit of changes in staff. I don't think we have a staff member that was involved with the process here at the county. I believe we've had ample changes, and in those changes, sometimes we get a little bit of disillusion and reduction of attention, although I know that a staff member was updating at the Gifford Community Center. I don't necessarily believe that the updates were, when I read done or ongoing, that pertains to some of the minor projects and some of the actions. Well, not all of them are actually done, they're just in motion. But I just want to talk about some of the bigger things that were discussed. And one of them was, we were talking about numbers just a few weeks ago. 7.3 in the Gifford Neighborhood Action Plan of 2014 was to repair and connect the sidewalk alongside of 45th Street and from 58 to US 1. Some of that was done, 43rd to US 1, but 43rd to 58th was not done. And that was reliant upon Public Works as far as the note of responsibility. I believe that we should revisit that and see what the objections are, what the constraints are, and get the job done. We had earmarked that that was 2018. And then it was moved, but that was because of ongoing concerns of getting the project done by Public Works. But it's now 2024, and I believe that we should have a fresh set of eyes to look at it and see if we can get the job done. Monitor street conditions. I believe that we might have not been as aggressive as we could have been. We have a lot of, we just have gone through another rainy season. We do have flooding conditions and a reasonable amount of fractures in the roadway, i.e. like potholes or breakaways. And I believe that a little more attention to detail could be in order for that. There was a project that we were to seek right-of-way for donations for unplatted streets. And we denote that it was the Gifford Progressive League that would be the responsible party. They can surely assist. The Gifford Progressive League has assisted us in some sidewalk projects, specifically the Old Dixie project, which was about 6 years ago. And we were able to get the right-of-way so we can improve and get the sidewalk done. But on 8.5, the due date for that was, because we were in need of right-of-way, was 2022. That's coming past, and these were not tacit earmarks. These were commitments that we were going to get the job done. I don't believe that we can rely upon the Progressive League to be going door to door on right-of-way issues. They, again, we're very grateful that they've helped us, but I think we need to look at staff to look at those right-of-way issues. There was another one, 8.6, which is to pave 32nd Avenue north of 43rd Street and 35th Avenue north of 45th Street. And that went to Public Works. I believe there was some discussion about that, whether constituents wanted that or not wanted that. I know we did some work and drainage and put a manhole or a person hole on in the center of the roadway, and it was applied with an anticipated elevation of that paved road. And, well, it stands up kind of high. I have some pictures if we need, but take my word, it is peaked up. I think the county administrator has been there as well. It's quite a few inches up. And what happens is the roadway is bed material, which is coquina and aggregate, but not asphalt. And as it wears down, we now have a temporary speed bump until there's more erosion, then we'll have undercarriage tear-outs. And it could be costly. So I believe that we need to determine whether the commitment to the pavement of that roadway can be fulfilled, or if it cannot due to the citizens not wanting it, then maybe some corrective action could be taken, perhaps a bid or a fairing around the opening, so that we don't have erosion and we don't have that. As I was visiting that more recently, I was watching the cars pass up and they rise and fall, and the undercarriage does come pretty close to the metal cap. So I believe it's a concern, and I believe that we need to address it. If it's not pavable, or if the citizens do not want to have it paved, then we need to place that down as rejected by or refused by. And if the intention was to make it better, and that was part of the agreement, we have to at least be transparent and just make a statement that can't happen. We need to identify some, again, I just mentioned it, along 38th, we have a lot of drainage concerns. That was a 2000, that's ongoing, but that was a 2018 commitment. There was just a few items that I wanted to go again on 8.5, which was, again, we talked about seeking right-of-way. That was originally proposed for 2016 after some concern, I believe, and Rich Baker said, this ain't ever going to happen. Got it. It got moved to 2020, it was revisited, and then we then turned it to a 2022 due date for, and now we still have right-of-way failure. I will say that one of the larger projects that we had was to develop a scope for culverting the canal south side of 45th Street, which included a lot of work, a lot of right-of-way, a lot of sidewalk and canal completion. We were able to, with great work with the MPO, Phil Mattson, and we lobbied FDOT. FDOT has taken on that project. So now we actually are going to get more because they want to do more sidewalking and they want to enhance the project. That's the good news. The bad news is we don't know where it's at. So what we need to do is have staff be in touch with FDOT, monitor it, and give the people an explanation of when it's happening, a better timeline. I believe that we need to address those areas that we can complete. We also, even though we have an assessment that was done in the Gifford community, as far as a public report card, we were committed to a public report card, and I believe the one of the last ones, which we weren't getting a good grade because of some of the failures, I asked for an incomplete, but when you ask for an incomplete, it's to either finalize the project or to ask for a pause, but now we have that, but we didn't finalize the project. So, again, I don't believe we achieved everything with the Gifford Neighborhood Plan. I believe that we did a lot. There is a lot on the Gifford Neighborhood Plan that really is continual or an enhancement of relationship with some of the services we're able to provide, the school district is able to provide, the Chamber of Commerce is able to provide. So it's not all inclusive that, hey, we didn't do it. There is a lot of work to be done, but I've looked at the Gifford Neighborhood Plan and I see that there's a lot of stuff that really just happens. And so, so with that in mind, I would like to propose that we target these areas, ask the county administrator to look at all of these with the new staff. That I don't believe anyone here was familiar with it that was in that operating capacity. And I believe that we need to bring it forward and get the job done. If that's the case, we can do that. And then my second ask is, the Gifford Neighborhood Plan is 10 years old, and it was revisited 14 years after it had initiated. And I'd like to propose that we not only address these needs and concerns and be in touch with FDOT for that other project, but now propose to revisit the Gifford Neighborhood Plan once again and have a Gifford Neighborhood Plan 2025. We could probably clean up a lot of the things that are there so it's not cumbersome, and we could probably look at infrastructure needs that we can place in a timely fashion.
Okay.
What's everyone's thoughts?
Yes, Commissioner Moss.
I think, my understanding is two of the biggest changes in the last 10 years are that Treasure Coast Community Health now has a location in Gifford. And also you have the Treasure Coast Technical College, which, by the way, is having a fair this evening. So it's open to the public. I think it starts at 5:30 p.m. I just had one question because, you may know this and it trails off. This is the, and I'll just read it. It's a CDBG grant for rehabilitating substandard housing units, and it was completed on July 10th, 2018, with the BCC approved submitting the CDBG rehabilitation grant application. The last document that I have on this is minutes from a meeting on January 10th, 2020, and then as far as the paperwork goes, it appears to end, unless you're aware of other paperwork or documents that I could.
No, not. The granting committee has, or the committee has not met. There was a lot of great difficulty due to the economy and getting, a lot of it was outclassed by the challenges in the economy, and that's the position we're in now. We're also in the same position with affordable workforce housing as well. Sticks and bricks are extremely expensive. Insurance, property. There is a lot more involved with it other than we just didn't get the CBDG grants and apply the funding.
I'm sorry, did not get it? Did not get the grant? Did not get the grant? Is that what you're saying?
I don't believe we have an open grant at this time.
Okay, and this one from the past, how did that go? Did it accomplish anything, I guess is what I'm wondering. The previous one that was approved, says completed July 10th, 2018. How did that go? Oh.
Morning, Commissioners. Chris Balter, Chief of Long Range Planning. That actually went very well. We spent almost all of the $750,000 that we were awarded for the low-income areas that were in the county. So it was spent not only in Gifford, but it was spent in Wabasso and Fellsmere. The majority of the houses were done in the Gifford area. It was a part of our rehab program for rehabbing houses. It was also, we used SHIP dollars as well. I believe there was a total of, I want to say, 18 houses, if I'm not mistaken, that we did with our CDBG funds. We have not applied for CDBG funds currently. We have actually been talking with our utilities department on possibly having them apply for the CDBG funds in the coming year, or our public works department to do large projects in that area. The rehab projects, generally, when you do housing projects, you do a housing project, then you take a year off or a couple of years off from doing housing and do large projects with either our public works department or our utilities department. How we've supplemented that without doing the rehab projects for CDBG is with our SHIP and ARP dollars. With the ARP dollars just sunsetting, we've used our SHIP funds.
Okay.
But it was very successful.
If I understand you correctly, then the timing is such that we could consider a CDBG application at this time.
We would have to have a plan, and it's, I believe it's due in probably the next week or so. So I believe that it would have to be a large-scale project. The rehab projects, to do that type of work on housing, we wouldn't have enough timing to write that.
Okay. So are the intervals annual then?
Yes, they are.
So this is something we could consider?
Correct.
Annually.
Annually.
For the next deadline. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other comments?
Good afternoon. My name is Miguel Alberto Davila Duran. I live in 3605 16th Street, Vero Beach, Florida. The reason I'm here, I would like to, on your proposal, Mr. Fletcher, regarding the local preference that were discussed previous meeting, is I've been involved with United Against Poverty. They have been training a lot of young fellows and middle-aged fellows. They need work, also ladies. They've been training in all the aspects of construction and development. They carry all the license and training. So will you please, look at it regarding that proposal to bring, now that you have the funds for all these, local projects, maybe you can, help regarding local contractor preference on those capital projects that's coming online. That's all I have. I'm a Florida State contractor, and I'm licensed insurer here. I'm not a Indian River contractor. I am Florida State contractor. I'm just, semi-retired. It's a lot of fellows that they need, proactive, have involved in the capital projects, also ladies. So please, just take a look. Will be appreciated. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It should be noted that we had a local preference intact where a match could overtake a local organization could match and take over the contract. We had it intact for about a year, and there was zero participation. I didn't see any harm in taking it off, but the board at the time, I didn't support it, but the board at the time determined to take it off the rolls. So we did not have a local preference. But just as a reminder, in 1 year's time, there was no participation. And that was about 25 contracts that were let out, were monitored, and there was no consideration. Anyway, okay. That's a thought as well. But I don't believe that that applies to some of the concerns that we have today. I don't want to get off track. I believe that we can address some of the concerns. One of them is very costly. I understand that. That right-of-way issue is big. I just wanted to know if we can revisit it and get it done, if we can. If not, have the mind of, well, it can't be done, but we'll have a Gifford neighborhood project plan 2025. And that's, again, that's my thoughts.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? Welcome, Mr. Idelette.
Joe Idelette, 4570 57th Avenue. I'm listening to Commissioner Fletcher, and in spite of everything that's been said, it's expensive, high cost. Like I said the other day, all these projects that are being done, they're expensive. Don't hinder us because of Gifford, because we each year we get those bills. I got my bill sitting on the top of my cabinet now for the property taxes. So we get all those things just like everybody else. The discussing of the Gifford neighborhood plan, that's all great. We've been doing it for years, but it's time for implementation. And that's what we're looking for now, as opposed to a bunch of talking, working. It's just time. It's time for implementation, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wolfork, welcome.
Freddie Wolfork, 4590 57th Avenue. This is my first day back to work. Been on vacation for 10 days to get a little rest and relaxation and take care of a few honeydew items, and happy wife, happy life. But I'm here to say one thing to this county commission group, is that you are new, but you're learning fast. I can tell it by your responses. And we don't expect Rome to be built in a day, but we don't want it to last as long as it lasts with the date and the years that are passed. Big project, costs money, but somehow, some way, I just feel that you guys can make it work. That you'll do some experimentation and look across the St. Lucie Brevard, say, what did you do to take care of a situation of this sort? Maybe you can get some ideas. But I do believe with the new county administrator, new attorney, new commission, other than Commissioner Fletcher, you guys can do it. It is kind of dying hard when you drive through Gifford and look on South Gifford Road and see a new construction going on. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, the county department. When we see things, we don't know the background behind it, but we do know that money came from somewhere to take care of that. And we just simply actually find money to take care of the project that's been on the books all this time. You're gonna do it. You got a cheerleader here from me. You're gonna get it done, and we look forward to working with you in the way we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Welcome, Mr. Sullivan.
Tom Sullivan, 4187 West 16th Square. I listen and I hear these things quite often. Joe, it's great. I would just like to see action. Like I just passed Ryan Sweeney, and we've had many head-to-heads. But I'll tell you this, the kid can get it done. You know what I would like to see, throw a guy like that out on the street for 4 days, let him analyze problems, let him bring back a report, and we'll know what has to be done. Very concrete, very hard and fast. Ryan and I butt heads quite a bit, but I'll tell you this, he can get a job done. And those are the kind of people we need out on the street. Instead of just talk, Ryan can be out there, he can spend 3 days, he can analyze everything, he can give you a report, and then you're gonna know what your priorities were, what you wanna go, and how much it's gonna cost. But, yeah, I get tired. I understand what people say. We got a lot of words, you know, and words create action. But I think everybody's saying, let's get some action. That was my only thought.
Thank you so much.
Can you do that? Can you order someone? I mean, can you tell?
Well, we don't order anybody.
I know.
We don't do any of that.
I know.
Right.
As a board of regents.
Well, we're not a board of regents,
We're not
although
a
that sounds fancier than a board of commissioners,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm just
appreciate
used to
that.
I'm just used to a college setting where people would say, this is what we want done. And the next thing that would
we
float down.
asked the county administrator to
Okay.
take care of things.
I've been at
But
these
it does
meetings a lot.
sound
I still
nice
can't
if we
figure it
could
out.
order people, but we can't.
I don't mean order.
I
I
know.
mean,
I
ask
think if we're
for,
regents, do we come with like wigs and
You
little?
gotta have a cap and gown, too.
well, it depends what school. If you're Harvard.
You're
you have a
giving us
cap.
too much credit, but.
Well,
Not
Mr.
But my point is, I live close to that area, and every once in a while I'll drive over there to go to the center, and I just noticed that some of the roads are in shabby shape. And I notice, you know, there are things that I don't think they've been assessed in quite a few years. And a oral and visual report on the situation and remedies to resolve it would probably be handy for everyone to have.
We appreciate that.
Mr. Sullivan, you're absolutely right. There's been a lot of talk, and we don't need talk. That's why we're here, and that's why we put it on the agenda, and that's why I put it on the agenda. I'd like our county administrator, he's got a whole new team, and they're wanting to do it. They want work. Well, we need work, and again, I did point out that one of the large obstacles was that whole right-of-way issue and the cost factor. And again, someone said just a few weeks ago that one of the most honest individuals was the former Public Works Director who said, it ain't ever getting done. Okay, that hit me, because that's not what I want our team to be known as. When someone says it's never going to get done, well, maybe they don't need to be on the team. Well, he's not, but we have a new team. So let's get the job done. And I did point out, it could be costly, but, you know, I don't want to have us as a commission overcommitting and underperforming, because that's who we are. We're here to ensure the infrastructure gets moving forward. So that's why the nature of the discussion today. Thank you.
All right. Can you summarize what you're asking?
I think the county administrator knows the 5 points of concern of projects that were just the can was kicked down the road, whether it be for economic reason or land development reason or just a lack of resources. And I believe, Madam Chair, that the county administrator heard today and he's prepared to address.
So are we bringing something back from staff, or what's for myself?
I'd like to hear. So, yes, first and foremost, obviously, we want to address the existing projects and bring that back to the board. I did go back and I looked at the record, and I know back in 2014, I looked at the planning process that was used to update the then plan, which created the 2014 plan. And that was a year-long process, and that was very community-driven, and which was very wise, because then it's grounded in what the community wants. So that's something I think we can work on. Definitely getting the existing projects. We actually held an internal staff meeting last week, and we have some exciting staff members existing. Yes, there's some new members, and so we are working. We'll work towards these. What's the timeline for the board? Can we get you an update on the status of the existing projects? I think we have one that we've provided, but there's a couple others I think that are on there that were not mentioned in that update.
And there was one on the brownfield enhancement, but I see Hamachu has that under control.
Yeah, well, the EPA has advised the Treasure Coast Region Planning Council they would not support any additional funding to do additional assessment activities on this property. That's the one where there's a conceptual plan that was devised, I think, back in 18, I think it was, on the amphitheater and or farmer's market, something to that effect.
And that discussion just got kind of shelved, but we did commit that we would beautify the frontage so that it's less obtrusive to the community, that there would be some shrubbery, and I see that Camacho has those.
Yeah, that was about 2 meetings ago, I believe, maybe 3, approved by the board.
Right, but that was an original concern too, because nothing had been done with that, and I understand the constraints with the brownfield, and then the caution as to what could be developed there, that in the event that something did arise, even though we got clearance, and we've paid a lot of money in assessment and values to see if we reclaimed it to the standards, and that's all well and good, but there is always concern that we might have missed a spot, as with any eradication. So
for purposes of expectations, can we say by the second meeting of October, we'll work back an update on all the items? I can get with Public Works and get with the other staff to see if we can chart a plan, or at least, you mentioned FDOT, get the update from them on their calendar, when their projects are due and all that? Would that be fine?
Great.
And then we'll start working on the internal committee, putting together something as it relates to bring back to the board for consideration to update the Gifford neighborhood plan on that meeting or the meeting thereafter.
But yeah, I would want to maybe rediscuss that, and then we can start that motion forward for 2025. But I really would like to see us get some of the action done. So that's.
Okay, so
I believe the county administrator heard, and I believe that's in the form of a motion to direct staff to address all of the shortcomings in the projects and return back with an analysis and the GO plan,
okay, so
if possible.
the second meeting in October, bring back a status update on the outstanding items, why they're outstanding, what we might need to do to jumpstart them and get them back on track. Is that a summary? I just want to know for myself the expectations.
Oh, very well.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you want included in that an update on where we stand with the brownfields design and that type of thing, or do you want that as a separate item at a future date?
That could be a separate date. Let's get it beautified first.
Okay, and then
I
we'll.
believe that, because that's a compound issue.
And I
I
think,
believe that could be part of the Gifford Neighborhood 2025 plan.
Okay.
When we roll it out, once we have
Okay.
Gifford.
I just want to make
Neighborhood Plan
sure
2014
everybody's on the same
completed.
page as far as what we're kind of bringing back on the second.
Or at least in motion, if not completed.
Okay, fantastic. Is that, everybody understand
good?
where we're good, where we are? And there is a motion by Commissioner Fletcher. I'll happily second that to move it forward. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you, team.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will move on to Solid Waste Disposal District. First item, 15B1, approval of the SWID meeting minutes of July 2nd, 2024. Commissioners, any
Move approval.
addition? Thank you, I'll second that. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Is that meeting lag?
I think so. We need more coffee. All right, and then the next item is amendment number 1 to agreement for landfill gas flare station and piping. Comments, questions, or concerns?
Madam Chair, move approval.
I will happily second that. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Himanshu, as always. Fantastic presentation. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, we stand adjourned.